The 10 social factors that affect how physically active people are availability of free physical activity versus paid physical activity, walkability of the neighborhood, your educational level, availability of community physical activity, lack of crime, family responsibilities / balancing work and family, flexible work hours, availability of health care, high physical activity resource neighborhoods, and the presence of your grandparents / other adults in the family.
Hello, my name is Tondro Young. I'm 37 years old. I just moved from Louisville, Kentucky to Manhattan, Kansas with my fiance and my 3-year-old daughter. And I moved to Manhattan, Kansas to be a lab supervisor for the NBAF.
Hi, my name is Morgan McCaw, and I am the mayor of Manhattan, Kansas. Manhattan offers many physical activity opportunities for both families and individuals. Some free physical activity opportunities are the Kanza Prairie and Linear Trail. You can take your dog or your family and go be active outside. Also for K-State students, the rec is free, included in their student privilege fee, so they can go there and do all sorts of things. There's indoor and outdoor things offered at the rec. And then we also have beautiful parks all over Manhattan, like this is Seco Park, and we also have City Park. So for paid physical activity, around the city we have many gyms, so you can pick which gym you like best. We also have a city pool in City Park and also an ice rink during the winter, so you can take your family or your friends, and just a little fee to be physically active with your friends. Then also in Manhattan we have some great community physical activity, usually brought to us by K-State. K-State offers like the homecoming parade and 5Ks. Like everyone, all the groups in K-State always are promoting community-wide physical activity opportunities, so that's great. And then also for K-State students, the rec offers intramurals, so you can get physically active and be involved with your friends and your K-State community, so that's great. And for families in Manhattan, Kansas, there are many rec leagues for both children and adults, so they can play soccer, baseball, softball, football, there's gymnastics, there's swimming lessons. No matter what sport you want to play, Manhattan has that. Manhattan also has great availability of healthcare. For K-State students, Lafine is free, so they can go there for any doctor needs that they have. Then for families, we have great hospital via Christie, and then there's also a variety of health groups throughout Manhattan. And also, besides just doctors, we have great PTs, personal trainers, dietitians. Manhattan has great health care. And also, the thing that I'm most proud of my town for is our lack of crime. Our police department does such a great job, and we are such a safe city. What did you think about when moving to Manhattan?
The biggest thing I had to think about when moving to Manhattan was my family responsibilities. I had just gotten out of college, so I was looking for a better paying job, and NBAF was offering me that. So the money that I was getting from NBAF would support my family to have more leisure time, and also the flexible hours that they would provide me to have fun with go around the town with my fiance, and also with have time to spend with my daughter. And then one of the things that fell into that was I had to think about my fiance's parents and my parents. My parents were really family oriented, and they always wanted to be around my 3-year-old daughter. So when considering that, I had to think about, you know, vacations and having to travel back and forth was one of the biggest things, and not having our parents there to, if we wanted to go have leisure time, having them to babysit our 3-year-old daughter, or just have that family support since we were a new family moving into town without knowing anybody here in Manhattan. And the last thing I had to look at is where we were going to live, and my fiance's work, since she has a degree in education, and she was thinking about going back for her master's. So looking at that, I knew K-State had a decent program, so that was one of the factors. And then finally, my daughter, where I wanted for her to have a good future in an education. So I had to look at the schools in the community that Manhattan had.
Hi, I'm Daniel Goodnow, and I'm a professor here at Kansas State University, and I do extensive research on how social factors affect physical activity behaviors. So, in a study done by Crespo and I, we found that higher educational attainment may transcend cultural and ethnic barriers and reflect on a person's ability to understand and value the benefit of exercise for overall health. So what that means is your higher education will lead to a higher social class that will lead to a higher social status as well. So this means you're probably going to have more money, which will lead to more opportunities to be able to afford things like going to a gym or paying for things like Tondro's 3-year-old daughter to play on a sports teams or be in a club or anything along those lines. In another research that I've done, we found that blue-collar workers are more likely to be inactive during leisure time than white-collar workers are. So this means that your blue-collar worker, who is somebody that is going to be doing something like a manual labor job, such as digging holes or doing yard work, things along those lines, they are going to be more physically active during the day. So they're going to work, early mornings to late nights, digging holes, doing all those kinds of things, being very physically active. So when they come home, they're going to be very tired. A white-collar worker is somebody who sits at a desk all day. They're going to be working in a cubicle, in an office, so they're going to be working on computers, things like that. They're going to be sitting down all day. A white-collar worker is going to have more money, presumably. So when a white-collar worker goes home, they usually work an 8 to 5 job. They go home, they have money, they can afford a gym, they have free time at night, so they're allowed to go and be physically active at night. Overall, a blue-collar worker is going to be more physically active since it's an all-day. It's more of a lifestyle for them. Now, Tondro is moving up in social class. Tondro just got through college and is a lab supervisor, has a job, is going to be working more of an 8 to 5 job, and will have time for more physical activity during the night.
Why did you choose this neighborhood?
One of the biggest reasons I chose this neighborhood is when I looked into the schools, Marlette Elementary had a really good ranking, and also the middle school in this neighborhood had a really high ranking, which was Anthony Middle School. And then, so my daughter could walk to each school since they're really only a couple blocks away. And then once talking to the realtor, she told me that there was a really low crime level in this neighborhood, and that was a really big plus. And the other big thing that she talked about was it was family-friendly neighborhood. There was just families. And once when I looked at the home, there was always families walking up and down the street. I saw kids just riding their bikes up and down, and then also the access to parks around here. There was a park really close by at Seco Park. It's only a couple blocks down, and next to that was a grocery store, Dillon's, and they have a lot of healthy options, and it was just really close by and really accessible neighborhood. So that's one of the reasons I picked this neighborhood.
Is your family physically active?
My family is somewhat physically active. Back when we were in Louisville, Kentucky, I like to go to the gym, and my fiance like to go on walks with our daughter and our dog. So once accepting the job, I had to look at those two factors. So when we got down to Manhattan, a lot of people were, I was looking around and people were suggesting Genesis or the Rec to me. So those were the two places I looked at for myself to keep going to the gym. And for my wife, since she liked doing a lot of walks, and eventually we wanted to get our daughter into sports, especially like here at Seco Park, where maybe we could come and she could have like baseball practice, and my wife could, while my daughter's having baseball practice, she could walk around with our dog and stuff. So those were a lot of the big factors that we had to see once we moved here to Manhattan. Some of these opportunities we didn't have in Louisville, Kentucky, so it was a lot of the benefits. And one of the biggest things that I like with family activity here is City Park has a pool and a ice skating rink, and that was a really plus that we saw that Manhattan had, and that was one of the biggest things that Louisville, Kentucky didn't have. It was just more of that community sense that Manhattan had here.
Manhattan has many opportunities for free physical activity and family physical activity, but we also have many gyms available for purchase. Tondro mentioned that he likes to go to the gym in his free time, and he was part of one in Louisville and is looking for one in Manhattan, and he can probably afford it. He's in a better financial position based off of his new job. So some of the options for Tondro are Genesis Health Club at $50 a month, the Rec at $26 a month, and then $19 more per person, and then Maximum Performance at about $40 a month. Many health behaviors are influenced by social and environmental characteristics, not just individual level factors. So in a study done by McNeil and I, individuals who live in underserved areas are at increased risk of engaging unhealthy behaviors such as physical inactivity, often as a response to stressful and hazardous environments. So that means areas with high crime rates usually have a lower amount of physical activities. They're usually not a safe area. You're not going to go outside and just walk or run out, play catch with a friend. So these areas are also probably not walkable. They don't have nice sidewalks or no sidewalks at all, or they have very busy streets, so you don't live in a cul-de-sac. You can't just go in the middle of it and play with your friends. There's also a lack of public parks. So most public parks are in the richer neighborhoods where people are giving money to their homeowners association, which pay for the park in itself. So there are also a lack of streetlights. This means you can't go outside at night. And if you do go outside at night, it's going to be pitch black, so you don't know who's around. You can only see a certain distance. People who live in rich neighborhoods will most likely have access to better sidewalks that are well lit and good and have good public parks. That reiterates what we just said. Nice sidewalks and nice parks means you're going to be more physically active. So another factor to consider when talking about housing choices is discrimination. So a recent study found that African Americans living in segregated areas rated their neighborhoods as less pleasant for physical activity and having fewer physical activity facilities compared to African Americans living in more diverse, less segregated areas. So minorities tend to live in more underserved areas, so they're not going to be living in your high class, high social areas where people have a lot of money and really nice things around them. Usually people who live in those are the white people. So minorities don't have all the opportunities whites do. This comes from jobs and just any opportunity really. A white person's going to have more connections and people around them that will help them get to their goals. A lot of minorities are by themselves trying to figure out their own life. Manhattan is not as bad or as segregated as Louisville. That might be why Tondro chose Manhattan, Kansas. In Tondro's case, some bad things about his community are there's a lot of fast food around, which isn't very healthy for him. There are a lot of smaller shops, which is a lower class area, and some of these smaller shops can have higher costs associated with them because they're not your giant brands such as Walmart or Target. There's going to be a lot of busy streets, heavy traffic going around, so it's not good to go out. You can't just go out in the street and have kids play or anything like that. And there's usually no street lights, kind of like we said before. You can't go out at night. Tondro has some good things about his neighborhood. Now, it's very walkable. There are good sidewalks. It's pretty close to stores and schools, so they can get to and from these places really quick, and they don't need to do things like use a car all the time, which raises living costs with gas and actually owning a car. There are lower crime rates. It's a very nice, family-friendly neighborhood. People aren't as likely to break into your house or your car or even hurt your family. It's a very nice neighborhood. And like I said, it's family-friendly. All around, to the left and to the right, there are families. So if you ever need a babysitter or just someone for your kids to play with, Tondro's 3-year-old daughter will have friends. It's pretty close to public parks. So you can walk to the nearest public park, which indicates it's a higher class neighborhood. Now, it's not top class. It's not gym. But it's a very nice neighborhood where Tondro and his family feel safe. Tondro's middle class, so he's not in the very segregated, poor neighborhoods where there's a high amount of crime rate, but he's in a decent neighborhood where he's safe and likes his living situation. So Tondro lives in a racially diverse community, which means he'll be less affected by discrimination. So he's pretty happy with that.